for Purdue, the wide receiver position is as wide open as it could possibly be. There are no bona fide returning starters. There are a bunch of transfer players at that position, and so there's a lot of competition. There are 3 guys that have stood out, both from watching my own practices, reading stuff from other reporters, watching some reports from people and things like that. And those 3 are sophomore Armand Branch, who I've talked about in my other videos. Junior Denylon Morissette has had a really good connection with Malachi Singleton, has ran with the ones a lot as well. And then also Michael Jackson III, who's become kind of the screen guy in this offense. When I was at practice, I saw him doing a lot of jet motion things, crossing the formation and being kind of almost like a screen after the RPO and kind of the check down option with a lot of speed afterwards. Now that 4th wide receiver spot, you're going to need at least 4 to play when you're spread out wide and things like that. And I think that spot is pretty wide open. And I think there is a lot of potential there. The player with the most potential at that spot is definitely redshirt freshman Nitro Tuggle. He's transferring in from Georgia, where he was a 4-star recruit. He was from Goshen, Indiana here, so he is kind of a local guy who came back home. And he is super fast, super athletic, and really definitely has the highest ceiling out of essentially anyone in this wide receiver room. But he is still pretty raw. He came here after spring, so he's still getting caught up to speed. Sophomore Corey Smith also came here after the spring and is another guy returning back to Indiana. I believe he went to Brownsburg. He was at Tulsa, where he played a good bit as a true freshman, caught a couple touchdowns, had a decent amount of catches. Wasn't like a huge part of their wide receiver room, but definitely played a good bit. And now has come back, and coaches have really praised him. Josh Henson talked about him. He's had a couple highlights online as well, so he's a guy that definitely stands out. And then you have 2 senior transfers in the room with Chauncey Magwood and EJ Horton Jr., who both are kind of speedster-style guys that I think are pretty good deep threats. When I went to practice, I saw EJ Horton getting open a lot. I also saw him struggle with drops at the one practice I was at. Magwood, kind of in the middle there. I don't know. I think he's a guy who definitely could contribute, but you almost want a younger guy to pass him up if you are a Purdue fan. So it'll be really interesting to see how this room shakes out. Ultimately, just based on the momentum and what the coordinators have been saying, I do think Corey Smith might be the one to win this battle. And if it's not him, I definitely think it's Nitro Tuggle.